Hello, my name is Misha Sharif, and you're watching Decoding Careers, where I talk to professionals about their careers. Today we have Fariha Ahmed, who works as an optometrist for National Vision. Now, here's some information about being an optometrist. On average, the salary for an optometrist ranges from about $52,000 to $187,000. Optometrists must complete a Doctor of Optometry program and get a state license. Most students get a bachelor's degree before enrolling in the Doctor of Optometry program. Applicants must also take the optometry admissions test, or the OAT, to apply to OD programs. After finishing the OD, some optometrists do a 1-year residency program to get advanced clinical training in a specialty. All states require optometrists to be licensed. To get a license, an optometrist must have an OD from an accredited optometry school and must complete all sections of the national boards in optometry. In general, it will probably take about 8 years of schooling. Like I introduced today, we have Fariha Ahmed. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. One of the questions I actually love asking people who I interview is what led them to choose this career? Do you mind explaining?
Sure. So growing up, I always had a passion for healthcare, and I always knew that was something I wanted to do. So in college, I was actually pre-med, and it was this decision I made was actually after getting married, because I did a rotation with an optometrist, and I really enjoyed the work, the work style balance. And I wanted to have, one of the reasons was it's a good life balance, basically work-life balance. You get to go enjoy your work, looking at patients, helping them. And then when you come home, you get to enjoy your family life. So it's a good balance.
Okay, that's definitely a good reason. I feel like a lot of jobs you can be really overworked, and so having like a good balance is really nice, and I think that's something a lot of people should look for in jobs. And it looks like you're very passionate about what you do, and so it's best to ask people who are passionate about their career because they know it best. And so my question is, what 3 words best describe your profession and why?
So 3 words that describe my profession. One first word that comes to mind is rewarding. The fact that you're helping people see, it's one of the biggest blessings that we have. And the fact that you're a part of this and helping somebody, it's very rewarding, especially when you see the reactions that your patients give and them being so thankful. So you know that you're doing something right. And then second, I would say challenging. There are days, cases, sometimes patients that can be very challenging, but it's all about how you deal with it. That being said, the fact that it's challenging, it keeps things very interesting so you don't get bored. And then third, as I mentioned before, balance. To me, this field really provided that because it gives you an option of where you can work full-time and part-time. So initially, when I first had my son, I worked part-time, which was really nice. I still got to do what I love and then come home, enjoy my baby. So I don't get to miss out on his, life stages. So alhamdulillah, it was a good balance for me.
That's good, alhamdulillah. So I know I had talked a little bit about this earlier, but could you describe to me what educational background is required or best for this profession?
So you need 4 years of undergrad, and then optometry school is 4 years. So after that, then with optometry, there is an option. If you want to specialize, you can do residency, which is for 1 year.
Okay,
But
so
personally, for myself, I wanted to do more general, not limit myself. So I went straight into work after optometry school.
speaking of residency, I feel like residency, it's optional, like you were saying. And so in residency, or in just in general, like residency is kind of like a specific kind of like certification that you can get if you wanted to focus on one thing. So the same way, are there like any like specific or like special certifications that are required, or do you guys have to like, keep on learning, keep on, because I know for the exam that is needed, you guys have to regularly do that, correct?
So we have what's called continuing education, once you graduate and you pass your boards, everything. So for maintaining our license, which we have to renew every 2 years, basically every year you have to take classes, continuing education, so you keep up with the latest, knowledge. And that's how they basically make sure that, we're up to date with everything.
Okay. And I think that's good because if you keep on learning, you'll always like have your mind open. So could you describe to me a typical day in your job?
So a typical day for me, basically I start at 9:30. So I get in and I'll have, as soon as I get to work, basically, since COVID and everything, now we're taking extra protocol as far as sterilizing everything. So I spend the first 10 minutes sterilizing my room, my desk, work desk, everything. And then by then my tech has the patient ready, first patient of the day. So that's with National Vision, we see about every 10 minutes, I'll have a patient scheduled, and then they'll have a couple follow-ups in between. So around 1:30 is lunch break. That's when I come home, quickly get dinner ready. And then after that, we get back to work and it's till 6 p.m. So it's nice. And then there'll be times when, in between patients, you kind of have to train your tech what you want if there's something they're not doing correctly. So a lot of education. And the fact that you're the doctor in the office, you're kind of head of your staff. So make sure you boost staff morale and, keep up with how everyone's doing, how the optician is doing, if the manager's got any issues they need help with. So it's nice, it's basically you're a team.
Yeah. And I think with that aspect of like being part of a team and as an optometrist, like leading everyone, there are a lot of important skills that are needed. What do you think are the three most important skills for being an optometrist?
So communication is number one, especially, when you're dealing with patients. You need to make sure you communicate properly as far as telling them their diagnosis, what their treatment plan is, if they're following up with that. So you have to be very clear with that. And then as far as with staff, if there's ever issues, for me, the best thing is you just need to talk it out, find out what's going on. So communication plays a big role. Second, I would say would be, it's responsibility. So the fact that, you're the leader, you kind of have to show that you're taking cases, that you're doing seriously as far as being on time, punctuality, because they follow you, they look up to you. So you have to set the right example. So by being responsible in that way, it's very important. And then three, I would say being optimistic. It's very important. There'll be days when you just have to push through, but being optimistic, having a good attitude, that's very important. And that goes with any profession. There'll be days you struggle, but keeping a good attitude is very important.
So I really, really like the sound of being optometrist. I feel like there's a lot of pluses to it, but for everything, there are always cons. So what are some of the challenges that people who are optometrists are faced with?
So, for us, Misha, the biggest challenge right now is the whole aspect of online businesses, where people will just be like, oh, I just get my prescription? I want to go online and buy my glasses. So the whole thing is refraction in itself. It's a work of art. And it's important to get the proper measurements, because when you're getting it from like a clinic or, an office setting, opticians are taking your measurements. All of these things get taken into account. But when you go buy them online, what happens a lot of times is they're not made correctly and they end up showing up at your exam chair. So it's a waste of my time also trying to correct this issue, and the fact that, you're going out and spending unnecessary amounts of money on that. But that's one thing. The other, now, with COVID and everything, something that we did start is remote eye exams, where you can do exams from home. So there's pros and cons. Pros, I would say, is the fact that if anything like that again, where we need to be locked down, somebody needs eye assistance, we can still do exams remotely. But that whole human touch, that interaction, I feel gets lost.
Definitely. I think COVID has really had that kind of effect where like everyone has just become a little bit less social because you haven't talked to anyone. And I can really relate to the first one because one of my friends actually, she had gotten colored contacts, and I've been wanting colored contacts for a very long time. And so she got colored contacts from a random salon. And the thing about that is I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. You can get colored contacts for so less. It's such a good steal. And I talked to my mom and I'm like, we should go get myself some colored contacts. I really want them. And I was like thinking of what colors I want and all of that. And my mom's like, I feel like we should. She had a bad feeling about this. And she did a bunch of research. And so she obviously found out that colored contacts are really bad. As like you should get colored contacts only from your optometrist, and colored contacts.
Yes, because contact lenses are a medical device, and if a salon is selling it, that's illegal.
Yeah.
So they should not be doing that. Because I've had actually patients coming in with severe eye infection because they illegally purchased contacts which were poor fitting, and then no training as far as proper contact lens hygiene, how to insert, remove, These are all big risks, and definitely I'm glad your mom looked into it.
I'm really happy too, because some of the injuries, like sometimes it can lead to like losing your eyesight.
Of course.
And that is just so scary. And it's just to change the color of your eyes. If I feel like the person who did get injured, if they had just done it properly and just like paid just a little bit more, everything would have been okay. What's the problem in spending a couple of extra dollars for your health? And I just think that like a lot of people will take the easy route when it comes to like glasses, like, oh, it's okay, they're just glasses. But I think it's really important for people to know, like, to value their health. Like, it's not okay. You should definitely like look into like go to an actual doctor and actually get glasses or contacts.
Exactly. And this is all about your vision. It's one of our most important
Senses.
Blessings that we have, and the fact that you have to take care of it. You can't just take it for granted. Definitely. So like how you take care of your health, your eyes are very important, and a lot of times they determine what your health is.
Definitely. Let's move on to the next question. And you had mentioned, well, you had praised this aspect of your job, which was the balance between personal life and work life. So how do you balance your personal life and within your work life? You had talked a little bit like about like how optometry allows you to be really flexible. So using that flexibility, how do you balance your personal life with your work life?
I work full-time, but full-time as working 4 days a week, which is nice. And then, so with our field, one of the things is, especially if you're in a corporate setting, you have to work weekends, like Saturdays. But another option is you can either Saturday or a Sunday. So I chose to work on Sundays, which is nice. It's from 11:30 to 3:30. So it's a shorter time. And then Mondays through Wednesdays. So Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, I have off, which is nice. I get to spend some time with my son, my family. And the fact that I work real close to home too, it's always nice to just come during lunch break, get dinner ready, so when I come home, things go much more smoothly.
And I feel like you have your life kind of organized in the sense that like you kind of know like, oh, when I come home from lunch break, I'll definitely get started with dinner. And then when you come back from dinner, everything's ready for you and everything's
Yep.
just being nice and peaceful. And I think that has to do a lot with like organization. I really admire you for that. Lastly, our the last question, which is the most important question. So to all the viewers, please make sure you are listening. And this question is, what advice would you give to a high schooler who is trying to be an optometrist?
I would definitely say do your research. Try, in the summers if you can work in an optometry field, that would be nice. At least you get some exposure or shadow an optometrist. That way, shadow at least not just a 1 day type thing because it doesn't give you a feel, just by observing for a few hours. I would say go at least for a week, observe and see and like the patient care and how it is, if it's the right fit for you and if it's something that you can see yourself being happy in, because that's the most important thing. Any profession you guys decide, you want to be happy because you're going to be doing it for the rest of your life. So you want to make sure you love what you do.
Definitely. Jazakallah khair, and thank you so much for being here and agreeing to this interview. And to all the viewers, please take that advice into heart. This is an experienced professional giving her advice. So obviously it's credible and obviously you can benefit from it. Jazakallah khair, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care, Misha.
You too.